and sort of introducing how KM can implement AI. Ah, yes, the meeting is being recorded. Good. And so along those lines, a key to implementing AI and KM and bringing those two worlds together is, of course, the underlying technology infrastructure and the different platforms and software that are there. And that'll be the purpose of the next several weeks, to introduce you to some of those. And I first encountered Megaputer software back in the 1990s. I mean, it was on I think a Pentium computer, and we had three small 3.5-inch diskettes. Was the software we loaded, and it was back in the early days. I wouldn't even call it text analytics. I would call it text analysis. We were doing word frequency measurements, that sort of thing. Very basic, almost what would be considered primitive text analytics today. But we were using Megaputer software. I remember that. It was quite effective for the work we were doing. And we had since gone on to other things. And 2 years ago at KM World, I was wandering around the exhibit hall, and I saw this booth with these guys, Sergey and Brian Howard, and it was Megaputer. And I said, "Hey, you guys are still around." And so we struck up a conversation, and we ended up using Megaputer's PolyAnalyst software for a proof of concept demo that we were doing on encountering what do you do with the weak signals that are going on in a project. In other words, in project management, you can get all kinds of alerts and alarms for things that are really screaming at you. But what about those weak signals that exist in the discourse underlying the people who are doing the day-to-day work on the project? Can you capture any information or intelligence from that? And then match that against all of the data that being, the performance data, test data that's being generated during the course of a project. And as it turns out, Megaputer's PolyAnalyst software, which you're going to see today, was perfect for that in two ways. It's a platform that combines text analytics, which is a whole world unto itself, and data analytics, because one of them, either one alone can tell you certain things, but when you combine the two together, you can use the data to validate what you're seeing and what you're reading on the text side and the narrative side, and vice versa. And the second thing that we found to be very powerful about Megaputer's PolyAnalyst was that it comes with a lot of different pieces of functionality. And you'll probably see as we go through these next several weeks that many of the platforms are very API oriented, which is good. That means you can pick and choose the modules you want. And I hope part of Sergey's presentation today will show that you're able to take those different pieces of functionality and then stitch them together into a model, kind of like a workflow. And so use whatever you want. So we did. We ingested a bunch of documents, and he had an analysis module for that. And then we did the text analytics, the entity and relation extraction. There was a module for that. We plugged that in, and we said, "Oh, that's neat." Well, and then we saw a taxonomy, automatic taxonomy generation module. We plugged that in. And then when we loaded in the data, we saw there was a case-based reasoning. So now we're getting into AI because we wanted to be able to compare what we were viewing in real time versus what was in our document repository that happened in the past, and can we match them up so we can draw from lessons learned in the past. And so we used the case-based reasoning module for that. And so we did a simple proof of concept study on that with the generous participation of Megaputer. And we're happy to be partners with them. But we barely scratched the surface of what the platform does. So with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Sergey Ananyan, and and Sergey, make sure you unmute yourself because we muted everybody. And so take it over. I'll turn it over to you, and we're looking forward to, and I know everyone, you're going to be very, very excited and very pleased with what you're about to hear. Sergey, take it away, please.
Right. Thank you very much for the introduction, Art. I didn't even know that you were our customer back in the 90s. So it's nice to learn that. Yes, we were among the pioneers of the new tools for data mining in general, and text analytics and machine learning combined with text analytics in particular. And in the 90s, we had some first baby steps in this process. So we were marketing a system that was called Text Analyst, and that's probably what Art was relating to. And since then, the whole revolution happened, and we saw how people were analyzing and needed to analyze more and more textual data and various aspects of textual data for various tasks, not only academic people, but companies, government organizations encountered a need to analyze textual data and learned how to benefit from that. So there are numerous tasks that people are trying to address now. And we were moving along, providing more and more enabled software. And today I'm going to discuss different approaches to text analytics, starting with the rule-based systems and going to AI and machine learning tools. And we have some unique approach of providing the combination of the two. We believe that there are pluses and minuses in both these approaches. So with that, let me try and move to the presentation. And we can do the presentation probably in a couple different ways. So let me start with the thing that you can generate. Art was talking about providing API connections to the tools. So we can try and do these things. So I will demonstrate the system that was based on our on the module that Megapeer is providing. It's called Supremo, and this module is provided as an API library. So you can take this module and incorporate it to power your own system in text analytics. So this will help me illustrate a few concepts, and we'll take it from there. So let me start sharing my screen. And if you encounter any questions, please let me know, please holler, and I will be digressing and moving along.
Yeah, Sergey, I'll watch the chat box for you so you can concentrate on the presentation. And if any interesting questions come up, then I'll relay them to you as they come up.
Great, I appreciate that, Art. All right, so first, again, I will start with some toy example, and then I will tell you more about the platform that we have that is also available, where it is our experimental ground for running new mathematical and NLP techniques. But let me first show you some example. So what you see, and you can try it yourself, it's an open application. It is located at tm.polyanalyst.com, and the name of the this demonstrational tool is Supremo, which means in Italian, we will know. So here you can experiment with the analysis of documents in different languages. It supports 16 different languages. The most advanced support will be for English, of course, and for Russian. That's where I'm from, and that's where we have a relatively big customer base as well. But we support 16 different languages, 11 European languages, and 5 Asian, including Chinese, Japanese, both Chinese languages, the simplified and traditional Japanese, Korean, Thai, and Arabic. So here you can see an illustration, and this system is based on a combination of rule-based approach and AI-based approach, and we'll get back to this. And what we can do, we can take, so you see there are some examples provided for different languages. So you can try these, or you can load your own data. So we can open some New York Times. So you can see Iran extends agreement with nuclear agencies averting crisis. So we can copy the link from here and go back to the tool and import it here as a web page. And the system would be grabbing only informative content, hopefully. So we import the data. The system determines that it's English, no specific domain. It's a political article, so it doesn't belong to any specific domain. So it got rid of different advertising and links. And now we can analyze the content. And the analysis is done by the TM module that Megapeer is providing. You can read documentation here, download it, try it on your own, build your own system. So we have companies that are running their own text analysis systems based on this module. And you see this is just a simple example. So PolyAnalyst is capable of extracting entities, facts, and you can extract standard things, or we support a special language. I will be talking about it shortly, where you can define your own entities and facts of interest. And this XPDL language, extensible pattern definition language that we're providing, it would enable you to extract facts of interest with high accuracy. So you see an overview. We can go through entities, and you can see people who you possibly know, or people who we might not know. So the system will be recognizing them even if we don't find them, say, in DBpedia. So here we're connected to DBpedia. So some of these people, you will be seeing who they are. This is the default list of entities that the system would be extracting: people, entities, people, companies, organizations, and so on. But you can build your own, and the corresponding things will be highlighted in text. So if you go to China, you see where this is coming from, and so on. So you also can extract facts. So we know, for example, that there is some physical location. So we know that there are different positions that people might have, that they have different places where they can be working. So whatever facts we are finding, for example, this Rafael Mariano Grossi is the Director General at International Atomic Energy Agency. So these are the standard triplets that comprise facts. So these are typically two entities and the semantic relationship between them. So these two can be used to populate knowledge graphs. So you can use it in combination with other tools. And you can see that there are standard things that we're extracting, like the different business relations, acquisition, joint venture, and so on. So we have customers like Deloitte or E&Y who would be using the system for finding different news related to particular markets. There are different personal informations we can extract. We're working with pharma companies, so you can extract different important clinical information and so on. We can also pull the sentiment, so you can see so that there is a module for sentiment analysis. And I'm just doing an introduction, so we'll be going through these things shortly in detail how it is organized. So you can see that, for example, these such applications have been discouraged. You go from -5 to +5 in evaluation. And we are parsing individual elements of sentiment. So we grab what is the object, the such application, and the evaluation is discouraged, and we determine the degree. So for, if you want to see the linguistics, so you see how the system parses everything into, so first we perform morphological analysis and perform lemmatization. So you see how we split everything into parts of speech, and we can open any of these parts of speech. And you can also see the keywords. So these are the most important things: nuclear weapon, enriched uranium, agreement. So because this is the article about this atomic deal that Iran made. And you can also see how we're doing syntactic analysis. So for example, here you see sentence by sentence, how the system is doing constituency parsing. So we are splitting every sentence of the document into different noun groups, verb groups, and other named groups that can be answers to any questions that can be asked against this sentence. So we can, so you can see each of these boxes. It is an answer to a certain question that you can ask. I will not be stopping here further. And then there is dependency parsing. Dependency parsing is very important for determining parsing, especially long sentences like this one, where the important elements might be in different corner of some very long sentence, and other techniques would not notice the relationship between these terms, but dependency parsing can. And sorry, it becomes kind of small, so maybe I should be going through it like that. So for dependency parsing, you see how individual words, what is their role in the sentence, and how they are relating to each other. For example, you see that it's a stockpile of what? It is a stockpile of 2.5 kilos of uranium. And then there is an addition that it was enriched to 60% and so on. So you see the organization of this long sentence. Some of these connectors that you see, they're very far away from each other, but we still can find the syntactic relations between words. These will be extremely important when we do the analysis, when we're looking for facts, because facts can be dispersed through large amounts of data. Things can be very far apart from each other. All right, any questions regarding that, or I will move to the presentation and then to the system itself. All right, so let me first show you the system that we have, and then we can go and look through some slides. So what you see is the main interface of polyanalyst data and text mining system. So here, the user can work with different, so on the left, you see the library of actions that can be performed on the data. And the user moves these elements to the script design area. And then these actions, they can be parameterized. For example, I can tell the system where to grab the data. And the system will be showing where it gets the data. Then we do certain pre-processing of data. So there is a block. So for loading data, polyanalyst can grab data from any standard data source that we had encountered through our 20 plus years time of working with customers. So polyanalyst can grab data from databases, from spreadsheets, statistical systems, but also can pull data from files. And we can parse all standard formats from Microsoft Office to PDFs to different XMLs and so on. So we have this files engine. If you have documents that were scanned into the system, we have a special engine that can perform the recognition of text, the optical character recognition, and our polyanalyst would be providing one of the top quality of text extraction among the world's tools for text recognition. We can also pull data from tables and interpret it correctly, which frequently is a problem, especially for people analyzing different corporate reports and so on, because they include lots of tables. We also can pull data from email systems, both the client side or the server side. So we can pull data from archives like PST and NSF. Polyanalyst can pull data from the POP3 and IMAP servers as well. So we can grab data from internet data sources, from JSON objects, and many more. So as I said, there is a large collection of tools, so like XML, for example, sources. Then once we loaded the data, the system supports the integration of data. So we can create joins, merges, and sampling and aggregations and so on. So it has a large variety of ETL tools. And by the way, as we speak, let me show you polyanalyst supports also the interface that is a totally browser-based interface. It's a polyanalyst is a client-server system, and it can avoid using any kind of thick clients. So we can provide the installation that will work in your browser entirely. And inside the browser, again, you just move different things around. You connect them with arrows, and you specify what you're going to do with the data. So it supports interactive type of analysis. So I can bring this to the x-axis and it starts building this for me. So I'm not going to build visualization objects. This is just an illustration. So as I mentioned, there are lots of ETL tools. So you can have operations on columns, operations on rows of the table, operations on tables in general. So here you can do lots of different things. For example, converting transactional data to the aggregated view, or we can support Python and R. So if you have some code that you built on your own, it can be integrated to the workflow created in polyanalyst. So the workflow also can include different tools for text analytics. And Art mentioned a couple of them. I will demonstrate how they work. But there is a large selection. PolyAnalyst can solve tasks of clustering, classification or categorization of documents. We can extract entities and facts, and we can do sentiment analysis. We can create summaries of documents. We can compare documents, identify anomalies, detect emerging trends. And detecting emerging trends is a really hot topic currently, because different companies, for example, if you are a pharma company, you introduce a new drug to the market, and then during the first 2 weeks or during the first month, you are receiving tens of thousands of questions from your customers, from patients who are using the drug, from insurance companies, doctors, and so on. And this is the most critical time when you need to learn everything you can. Maybe people are asking questions about the problem that they cannot refrigerate this drug with their traveling and so on. Or maybe they're asking about going through, moving in the airports through X-ray, and they would like to know how this can affect the drug. And as a pharma company, you might have not thought about it. You might have overlooked different things, different aspects. So if there are some problems with the drug, you need to know this as early as possible. So PolyAnalyst has special tools that can identify emerging trends. I will be showing this in a second. So in addition to text analysis data, there are lots of tools for machine learning and predictive analytics, including different neural nets and so on. There are graphical tools, and you can output the results of the analysis. So let's, for a second, return to the project that I pre-built here. So this project was based on the data. The analysis was performed for a manufacturer of artificial joints who were interested to do competitive intelligence projects. They would like to monitor the news for based on the list of about 10 key competitors that they have, and certain technologies that were of interest to them. And the objective would be to find what are other technologies that these competitors would be doing or would be related to technologies that are of interest to them. So what are the technologies that they are not aware of as of yet, but it seems to be important. And what are other competitors that might be working on these technologies that might be of interest, and how can they find which of these competitors have not been purchased by anyone yet and may be available for purchasing, and so on. So it's an unfolding story. So to run this analysis, we are pulling data from the internet. And these are articles that can be coming from Forbes, from Bloomberg, from some professional journals, and so on. So initially, it's a really huge collection of documents. And the objective that we have is very peculiar. We have to find something that might be of interest to us, and we don't know what this is going to be. So it's a very loosely defined task, not a very friendly task for a typical text analysis system. But in PolyAnalyst, we developed special tools for addressing these tasks as well. So you see there are roughly 45,000 articles that were pulled that matched certain search criteria, maybe the name of the competitor or the name of the technology that was of interest to the customer. And we started developing a script. So we do some preliminary analysis. I'll not be stopping on these. We perform indexing. And the main thing here is the entity extraction node. So to launch entity extraction, we'll be looking for standard entities for now. I will illustrate in a second how the user can control this as well. But first, you can plug the data and the system will be running for you. So you see that as standard entities, we can extract drugs, technologies, automotive, pathologies, anatomy, and so these are different technology and medical field related things. That's where we have lots of customers. So on the output, the system will be generating the entities. And this extraction that I'm showing to you is based on linguistic rules. I will show how they are organized, and they can be used either separately or in combination with AI, with deep learning tools based on BERT and LSTM that we also are providing. But BERT and LSTM are much slower algorithms, and they can produce interesting results, but they require the system built equipped with video cards, with special GPUs. We're using NVIDIA that are optimized for processing. So it speeds up the AI tools by about 10 times. So you can see that there are lots of people, companies, organizations, of course, that were found in there. Let me show a few examples. So these are just standard things. So you can see different potential companies here, and the system marks up the documents. There will be people mentioned, but our main interest will be not these people. And you can see how we are parsing the individual elements of the name. So we also find that this is the vice president, that Brian Thompson will be the vice president, or the product manager or something. And later we can tell you, so vice president of product management right here. So we can also find in the next step which company he is related to. So first we're grabbing the most basic parts of the document. And one interesting thing here is the search for technologies. So these things, they're not very well defined. They might be technologies or products, they might be not, but we are trying to find what are the things that can be certain technologies. So based on certain characteristics, the system was figuring that these might look like a technology to the system. And then we will be looking at these technologies. So again, we found 71,000 of potentially important things here. So different data mining technology, data mining tool. So you can see some of them are clear, how the system picks them up. Others will be much more difficult. For example, this Data Life Plus, it probably is because of the sign R, but it might be some other things that make the system think that this is a technology. Once we extract these, we can plug it into the new, a different tool. And this tool allows us to look for emerging trends in these technologies, something that was not mentioned before. And in this tool, you can specify whether you want to work with lexemes, with keywords, or something that we just extracted. And you can add more here. So anything that we extracted before, you can start looking for emerging trends. And the emerging trends allow you to, it allows you to set up. So for example, here we're looking with a step of 2 years. You can easily change the step and we'll be looking for 1 year, or we can go by month. And what you can do you can specify a certain period that is of interest to you. And the system automatically compares it to the to 5 previous segments. And I can specify that instead of 5, I want to be comparing it to 7 previous years. And the system will be calculating things differently now. So if I look at this particular year, you can see how we're comparing it to what happened before. The system shows what seems to be trending, what suddenly it becomes an important thing, the subscription platform, for example, or this modeling tool or hybrid software. You see that they are all on the rise. So we can be going through individual elements, and you see why the system picked it. If you move the segment, the results might change quite a bit. And for example, in this particular year, in 2015, it was this WDM 3D printing technologies that was trending, and market bought replicator 3D printer. It was another trend. So you can identify the trends, what was going up, what was going down. So all the red ones, these are the things that significantly went down, like this Hutchinson 3D. It was popular back in 2012, but there is a diminishing trend on this one. So they basically disappeared. All right, so this is the trending tool. Now let me go back and explain how these things work. And before I do this, actually, fine. Well, let's go a step back. And here would be the linguistic and semantic rules that help us extract those things that I'm showing to you. So I will show an example of the rule, and then we can try and build our own rule. I don't know if it is good in the framework. We probably will not have time for that. But so if you...
Yes, Sergey,
yes.
Let me just call out some of the questions that people are asking, sure. And maybe you can just weave this into your, as you continue to go through the demonstration. Mm-hmm. Somebody was asking about if you can use this tool for academic literature review, an SLR, systematic literature review that you do in the academic world. And another person asked about content analysis. And Vincent, our Thailand partner, said, can you link to patent databases? So I think from the chat box, people are thinking about all kinds of different ways to use this. So I just wanted to point that out to you, and maybe you can provide some insights as to other applications as well as you go along.
Sure. Today, I'm showing just a very few tools of polyanalyst. So we're just scratching the surface. And there are other tools that would be used, for example, for academic articles. Yes, you can do the analysis of academic articles. We are doing this, and there are specific challenges that you encounter and specific tasks that you encounter in the academic world. So first, you have to frequently process large amounts of data. And to this end, we have another tool. It's called Polyanalyst Grid. And this is a cluster-based system that runs on a collection of relatively low-grade, typically Unix machines, because they are better set up to perform distributed data storage and analysis. And Polyanalyst Grid can process efficiently enormous amounts of data. So for example, we have the entire PubMed database of citations loaded into PolyAnalyst with all abstracts and also PubMed Central. And this system, PubMed was pre-indexed, so you can quickly run queries, pretty complex queries. For example, you can be searching for any genes that can be biomarkers of cancer against the entire PubMed. So you are a pharma company, you want to develop a new drug, you would like to know what academic research exists. And the system will start producing, it will produce a table in pretty much 3-5 minutes for you that will contain sometimes tens of thousands of genes that can be biomarkers of any kind of cancer. PolyAnalyst has tied dictionaries and ontologies. And here, for example, if we look in ontologies in semantics, so you can see that it works, for example, with medical subject headings. So if I do here a search for carcinoma, the system will show me different types of carcinoma that it might encounter. And you see that we support all kinds of relations, that it can be a cause to something, or it can entail something, and so on. We can look at hypernyms, and you can see what this adenocarcinoma, what would be the generalizing term for it, and so on. So
and Sergey, can the user modify that ontology? Let's say if new specialized terms come up as new terms are introduced.
Yes. The user can modify ontologies. The user can load any standard ontologies. PolyAnalyst supports RDF and OWL formats. So you can pull these, you can work with them, you can combine them together. So I can combine several ontologies at once, and we have other tools that are beyond ontologies that would be more specific to AI and machine learning, like embeddings, because we support BERT and LSTM algorithms. So yes, and with academic research, in addition to doing the analysis of the literature, you frequently want to know who are the authors and identify, for example, the most influential people in the field. Yes, you can use Hirsch index, and it's not, it's a pretty reliable thing, relatively reliable. But PolyAnalyst is offering a tool called social network analysis that allows us to look how people are citing each other. And then social network analysis would reveal the network structure. Let me just, so if I look for social network analysis here, so we can specify, this is not the right data for trying out this tool, but you can specify the source, the destination, whether time is important, the subject is important, whether there are any numerical attributes, and whether the links are directed or not. And we can calculate, when we do the analysis of influential people, in many cases we reproduce what Hirsch index would suggest, but we frequently, not frequently, but now and then we discover surprises that most important people really are not the ones who are that high in Hirsch index. So this is related to academic research. With patent analysis, we also, with PolyAnalyst Grid, we loaded the US Patent Office documentation there. It can be pre-indexed, but there you have to create specialized techniques, special rules to extract information of interest, because this is a very special language that they're using there. Not the most pleasant language, but if you learn how people are expressing things there, you again can start extracting facts with amazing accuracy. All right. And
yeah, and Sergey, one more question. I think I'd like to ask John Natividad. You had a question you were asking about open-ended questions. Can you use the tool to develop theme, codes, patterns? John, could you elaborate on your question, please? I think it would be interesting for all of us.
Hello, good evening. Yes, this is all about the qualitative data in the getting the in developing a code pattern teams in the qualitative uh, data collection. So I mean, if we can use this tool to develop to get this pattern in the idea or in the concept provided by the participants in the certain given questions. If it's possible, these tools can be used and develop a teams, codes, something like that, using
yes.
content data analysis.
Yes, you can. You can do it this way. So let me try and see if I can pull something that would address this question. With PolyAnalyst, you can do automated creation of taxonomies. So the system can find, perform clustering on the data. It can find collections of topics that have certain similarities between themselves and are different from the rest of the data. You can also use it for building a taxonomy that will be performing classification of the open-ended questions automatically for you. And we also provide tools. Sometimes the most important questions are not the ones that people are just talking about, but these could be the ones, those issues that really bother people. And to this end, you can run sentiment analysis node. Our sentiment analysis can parse each expression of sentiment into elements. So we'll find the object, what people are unhappy or happy about. It will find the evaluation, what they are saying about that, what terminology they're using. And we will try to determine the degree of happiness or unhappiness. That's probably, this would be based on some linguistic rules, or in general, based on AI, we can determine the overall sentiment of the statement, because these open-ended things, they can be a page long sometimes, not necessarily just one sentence. And it's important to determine the overall sentiment. So this can be done as well. So sorry that it's loading so long. I'm not sure it will finish shortly. So maybe I will show the example, but in the meantime, maybe I can answer one more question.
Yes, there was another question. Let's say a couple more. Yeah, and I think we're running up against time. We're seeing what we experienced as users. There's so much to your platform and tool. We can never touch even on just a fraction of it. So we're probably going to have to wrap it up soon, Sergey. But here's a couple more questions that have come in. Let's see. Vijay asks, can you shed some light on text summarization solutions, and will this help the user avail the metadata or document properties? And I think we've done some of that using PolyAnalyst for entity relation extraction. And let's see what else. What metrics are used to check for accuracy of the output is another question.
So we typically, let me start with the last one because it's the most straightforward one. So we frequently are using the metrics based on the recall, precision, and the F ratio. So these are standard, but we have other metrics in some other tasks where you have to perform classification of documents into multiple categories, and it is not clear ahead of time how many categories you are going to have. So we recently performed so we were helping World Bank with doing the classification of different projects they have across the world into budgetary items. So there we have more specialized measures for the accuracy. So, and going to, returning for a second to sentiment analysis. So you see, these are reviews about printers. And in this particular case, these are Canon printers, but we have a project. I think we have it available online. You can find it at megapurio.com in the library. I'll show it in a second. So here you see people are talking at Amazon.com or at different specialized forums. They are discussing their experience with Canon printers. For Canon, the most important thing is to find out what people are happy or unhappy about. To this end, you can just run sentiment analysis. It's no brainer. So you just tell the system that you will be in technology domain, and we support different domains because people use completely different structures and lingo in different domains. And we run the analysis. On the output, the system shows the following thing that helps me identify what they are talking about. So you see, they're talking about products, product characteristics, and if they talk about products, for example, you see they're talking about printer, product, machine, scanner. So we can click on printer, and these would be the evaluations that there is error, and there are quite a few of these. There is something is worst. Worst, as you see, it's -5. It's very unhappy people. And so all of these things that you see on the right, we are extracting these elements from them, or they are very disappointed, and so on. If we look at product characteristics, you see it is about print, about quality. So you can see, again, they are unhappy, but there are also plenty of happy people that there is this excellent quality and so on. They might be unhappy about the installation. So you quickly see what people, so the installation, it can not work, for example. So we do negation detection here as well, or it just fails. So there is quite a few people for whom the installation fails. Or there might be something about the speed. In this case, the speed is great. So the speed is decent and good and so on. And we can check, so the system determines this automatically out of the box. It pulls this image quality, printing quality, color, and so on. So disappointed, but color is actually great. So if we look at these, there are far more places where they like the color. So here you see the list of evaluations. And from here, PolyAnalyst is a plug and play tool. So from here, I can create a graph. And so the system creates this node automatically. And I can now execute it. So I have a table, by the way. So these are all sentiments and evaluation and what they are talking about, which this thing, it didn't exist before. It was automatically generated by the system that you see that they have sufficient ink, for example, or super display screen and so on. And I can display this PolyAnalyst. So far, I wasn't showing much of visualization, but PolyAnalyst has very powerful visualization tools as well. So if we look at different support and importance, I can ask the system to do the layout, and you see what positive, negative things people are talking about. The red ones are negative, the green ones are positive. So you can pass this data along to other visualizations, or you can use tools inside PolyAnalyst. So sorry, I digressed too much.
No, and I'm sorry. I know there's still so much to show, and we won't be able to get to everything. So we are running out of time. And I wanted to also remind everybody, please hang on if you can. Ved is going to come and tell everybody about the resources available and how to access those resources. But before we do that, Sergey, I'll let you say any last words or any last thoughts you'd like to pass along. We certainly have appreciated this, and I know there's so much more we can show, and maybe people can go to the demo site that you mentioned. Somebody wanted to know if an entire organization can access that demo.
Yes, please. We need to disseminate the word as much as possible. So we have great technology. We're working on this, investing in that, but we completely depend on those people who are using our technologies to benefit from that. So please share the presentation with all your colleagues. You can look at megapedia.com, and there will be a link to the gallery of reports. So PolyAnalyst also includes a powerful BI tool on top of PolyAnalyst. So that's an extension of PolyAnalyst called BI Reports. And all the things here, you see, you can quickly build reports like that. And these reports are interactive, so we can demonstrate different things. Everything will be updating for you. And you can build whatever the outputs you want. So these are just the simplest things. So I can group here, for example, these are all the people who are not happy about the size of the printer. So you see that it's just a little too big, or it was huge, and so on. And it was also much bigger. So there will be, in this library gallery of reports, you can see reports, and I will not have time, of course, to demonstrate how to build these reports, but again, it's fun. All right, any more questions, anything?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
Excellent and amazing, piece of software, and it's really amazing the kind of amount it has took to build this whole data sets and the whole organized, intelligent system. My question is now, let's say we have already built some system on SharePoint or anything. Mm-hmm. Now, is it possible to integrate this backend into this data set available in SharePoint? How can you bring together what you already have into this tool or this Megapedia? How do you integrate? Is it possible to integrate just with the data content and upload yes. to the website and get the output, or how does it work? Is it license based, or how does it work?
It is license based, but yes, you will be able to integrate with the SharePoint. We actually have a special connector to SharePoint that you can use. So we would welcome you doing that. We can provide an evaluation copy of our software, so you can try it, build your own application, and then decide whether you want to continue working with us. We can help you through the pilot project.
Okay, that will be excellent. I will get in touch with you. Yeah?
Good.
Probably. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? And again, I can show you many more things, but we would need a couple of days rather than 1 hour to go through other interesting things like medical entity extraction, for example.
Sergey, if it's okay with you, we will not take no more questions at this time, because we have one more thing we have to accomplish today. So thank you, Art. I'm passing it back to you to end and summarize, and let Ved start. Art, thank you, Sergey.
No, I think judging from the comments that have come in here, everyone is just amazed and is very pleased, first of all, with the presentation, and maybe a bit overwhelmed, but if anything, you've shown us what the possibilities are. There's a whole world of possibilities out there that we can do different ways that we can analyze both text and numerical data. And so this is food for thought. And I think, like I said, I encourage everyone to explore further. Sergey, are you able to share some slides with us or provide some additional information that we can send out to the group?
Absolutely. I actually prepared a set of slides, but I decided not to use them because...
Well, good. And that would be good additional information then. No, it's better to... showing is always better than telling. So we appreciate that. But yes, so if you could pass along, you have our email address, my email address, and Mariah's and Annie Green. So if you can send those along to me, and I will make them available to the group.
Can I?
Thank you very much.
Santosh, not now, please, because we need a vet to speak.
All right, sorry. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I would be glad. I don't know if Art, you can share somehow my contact information, or maybe coordinate that people would be sending questions.
I will do that also. I'll pass along your information and how about Brian's as well, along with the slides. So I will do that.
Yeah, we'll be glad to answer.
The presentation. It could be embedded in the presentation. Your contact details.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the interest and good questions. So we are enthused and excited. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Mariah, back to you.
And back to Ved. We don't have time.
Right. So thank you, Sergey, for a very exciting demo of PolyAnalyst. I'm sure a lot of us would want to try it out. Let me start sharing my screen very quickly. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So in the next 5 to 7 minutes, let's look at, with respect to the KMAI course, where all can you find various resources, etc. Because now we are into the 8th session, and it's important that we know how can we trace back to the other resources that have been shared in the past by Moria. And a lot of it has been done. So the inputs for the digital presence have come from David Williams and Ellie Meron. So a lot of work has gone in behind the scenes to make it available to you. It was always part of the plan. It's only that we are unveiling it today. So just to recap the KMAI course, we know there are 22 online modules. The course team, there are 132 registrations that have happened, and there are 74 out of those 132 who have volunteered to provide help in managing these digital channels. The Zoom meeting, we all have the link sitting in our calendars on a recurring basis, and we have a WhatsApp chat group as well. So by the way, this deck will be shared with you after the session is over, when Moria shares everything about this session. So you will have these links available with you. And if you have not joined the WhatsApp chat group, you can maybe join it post the session. So where can you find us? It's about KM Global Network as well as the KM AI course, which is being held under the umbrella of KMGN. So you can find details about the course on the KMGN website. There's a Google Drive that we have set up. I'll shortly talk in greater detail about each of those. There's a YouTube channel that has been set up. There's a LinkedIn group. I know there are a few territories where LinkedIn is not easily accessible, but nevertheless, we have gone ahead and set up this group. And the WhatsApp group where the chat is happening. So let me begin with the KMGN website. So all the references to the course are available on the KM Global Network website as well. This is the URL. This is how the homepage looks like for KM Global Network. When you go to kmglobalnetwork.net, this is something which is under construction because right now it is only David Williams who has been working on it. We are looking forward to having some volunteers who can develop it further for the KMAI course as well as for KM Global Network in general. Okay. Now, there is something called learning over here. Let me maybe take you to the site. I have the site open. So over here on the homepage itself, there is a brief mention of the KMAI course. And then when you go to learning, I've just clicked on that. So right now, it is just giving a list of all the modules that will be there, the 22 modules. The idea is that we hyperlink them to the content, the recordings, etc. Over here. So this needs to be developed. It's a work in progress as of now. Okay. let me go to the next one. I'll go to the, yeah. Now, all the course content that we have seen so far is hosted on a Google Drive. So the link to the Google Drive is given over here. We have set up a separate account for KM Global Network in Google, and the drive is attached to that particular thing. So the owners of the Google Drive are Ellie, who is also here in this call, David, and myself. Right, and of course the KMGN office bearers also have full access to the Google Drive, including Moria. So when you go to the Google Drive, this is what you will be seeing. So as participants of the course, this is the link to the folder that has been set up for the KMAI course. And there are individual folders for each of the sessions. So whatever resources are shared, those would be available within that. So whether, for example, if Sergey shares the deck, that will go into one of these folders. And maybe I have it open over here. So this is how it looks like in Chrome. So when you click on, for example, session 7, you'll be able to see any PDFs or PPTs that have been shared. So everything will be present within this. Okay, let me move to the next channel. Now, all the recordings, so all the sessions are being recorded on Zoom, and we are downloading those and uploading them back in the YouTube channel. So again, the YouTube channel, in YouTube, we have set up something called the KM Global Network channel. Again, attached the KM Global Network Google account, so that there is a bit of synchronization between the Google Drive, the YouTube, etc. Right? Here you will have view access to all the recordings. Over here, we have created a playlist called KM AI course. We'll continue to create more and more playlists as KM Global Network gets into more activities. And Ellie, David, and I have full access to this particular thing. I'll again probably just take you to give you a glimpse of, oops, sorry, this, one second, yeah. So this is how you'll see the homepage of KM Global Network when you come in over here. And you can click on the playlist where you will find there's only one playlist as of now, the KM AI course, and you can play it over here. So, yeah. So this was just to sort of give you a glimpse of what you'll be able to see. The videos attached to the playlist you can see on the right as well, right? So it's pretty easy to navigate. And I'd like to thank Ellie especially for doing the hard work of taking it out from Zoom and putting it up over here. Same thing he did with the Google Drive as well. Okay, the next one is the LinkedIn group. So over here, we have set up a access restricted KM Global Network group where membership is by invite only. What you could do is that with the link being available to you, if you are already not into that group, please click on it. And one of Vincent is the person who created this LinkedIn group, and we are taking it forward for other activities of KM Global Network as well, including any conversations around the KM AI course. The idea is that there's a lot of knowledge that gets that comes out as a result of these threaded discussions, and it's better to have it all in a single place instead of creating something separately for, say, the KM AI course and for a subsequent course, etc. So please do start having conversations, asking questions, sharing material over here of any kind that is of interest to knowledge management in general and KM AI specifically. Right now we have 78 members. So please do go ahead and join the group. And I'll also give you a glimpse of the group. Oops. There's the floating menu bar, which actually inhibits clicking over on the tab. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. So Edwin, for example, has been sharing some good material over here. Santosh has been doing some podcasts. So those are hosted over here as well. So thank you for those who have already contributed, but please go ahead and search for the group. You have the link available in the PPT, but this is how you'll be able to recognize it. Okay. Let me go to the next one, the WhatsApp. This is the final one. So we have a chat group in WhatsApp. There are 69 members. It was very active in the first couple of sessions. but now it has sort of toned down a bit because we are using the chat window in Zoom for in the session, comments or questions, etc. So Moria is the administrator for this particular group. We would like a lot more conversations to move into the LinkedIn group, and maybe the Zoom chats can happen over here so that you have access to them in future as well. Okay. And finally, oops. Now, I talked about how there are 132 registrants and approximately 74 who have volunteered to contribute to these digital channels. So this was based on a survey that was floated on surveymonkey.com. I've reproduced the link over here. If you have already responded, or if you have not responded and you want to respond, you can continue and go ahead and respond to the survey.
Ved, we here changed our approach, and we already have did part of the matching between people and activities. So we maybe will be using, we will be addressing specific people, but this is more relevant only to the Indian group.
Right. Thanks, Moria, for pointing that out. So yes, it's good to have a lot of volunteers, and based on the skill areas, expertise areas, the location they come from, as Moria said, we'll be mapping you to different activities in which you can help out. So some of the things that we need help on is, as I was mentioning, KM Global Network website needs to be developed on an ongoing basis. We need to make sure that good content is flowing in. All of us come across really good articles, for example, or other knowledge resources. How do we really, disseminate that to the larger group? Conversations in LinkedIn group, those volunteers who are responsible for it, we'll be briefing them as to what is the expectation and how they can go about it. Right? We want to increase the overall membership of KM Global Network, and these recordings are happening. We'd like more and more people to view those recordings in YouTube, for example. We would also want the volunteers to drive different KM activities, whether it is webinars or knowledge shares of different kinds or other things in your particular country. And we are also looking for volunteers to manage the volunteers. So that's another thing that I thought we should point out. Okay? So that in brief is what I wanted to talk about, with respect to digital channels. So any questions or any doubts of any kind, you can raise it now, or you can reach out to me later as well.
And as I think that as Molly said and Arif said, it's really a lot of work. It's an excellent work we do on. Thank you, Eli Meron, for starting it. Thank you, Ved, for being responsible for the platform and doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes together with Eli. And we will start putting our materials there. So be prepared, everyone. Thank you. Next week, we will be continuing to hear here's Eli. So Eli, do you have
Eli is there.
So everyone can see you. So next week, we'll have another, we're going to continue our presentation, seeing different softwares that serve AI. Thank you very much. Good evening, good morning, good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Fantastic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.